All right. So Sheila and William Carpenter.
Hi,
Welcome back.
Devins.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
How are y'all doing today?
Awesome.
Pretty good.
Good.
Can't complain.
Can't complain.
No one listens.
No one listens. No one listens to me either, so don't feel bad.
All right.
So today we're trying something new. It's called Realtor Therapy Sessions.
Okay.
Now, of course, many people don't really know, but you guys are students of mine, so this is a training moment for you guys, getting you guys ready to be behind the camera and different things like that.
Yes, sir.
And so I know we have been talking about storyboarding here lately, and normally this is probably something that we would have storyboarded, but this is also one of those things you don't necessarily have to sort of storyboard because it's more so of an interview.
Yes.
If I wanted to go a little bit more in depth with it, I would move the camera around different places, showing some different angles. But for right now, I just want to have this stationary angle here, and have these mics situated until I get me some wireless mics, and therefore we can record elsewhere.
Okay.
Right? So we're talking about Realtor Therapy Sessions, right? That's what this pretty much is for. Now, this is also going to go to you guys once I get it edited and everything. It's going to go to you guys, and you can post it on your socials and TikTok and all that. But it's also going to go on MSAR's YouTube page.
Okay.
And it's going to be the very first episode. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yay.
All right. So, they're not going to see my face. So one of the reasons why I did this is I wanted to highlight our board a lot more. I wanted it to be where our members can come in, show their faces, and just get more active and involved. And I wanted to take our content a little bit further from just your flyers and different things like that. I wanted to, highlight these real moments, real people, real conversations. Something that we do on Nexus a lot is highlight that, but I want to take it into a slightly different direction now and actually give people a face-to-face view and conversation with the people that they work with.
Yes.
Right. That's good.
So the reason I titled this Realtor Therapy Sessions was because, realtors go through a lot. They deal with a lot.
And we need therapy.
A
lot of it, exactly.
And that's something that I want people to see, right? Is that, hey, these realtors are people as well.
Yeah.
They have feelings, they have emotions. And a lot of times the clients don't know, like, how heartbreaking certain things can be for the realtors. Like, they share, you eventually build a bond or a relationship.
Yes,
together.
definitely.
Yes.
And so for, a lot of new prospective clients or just people just interested in real estate as a whole, I want to be able to highlight MSAR as a place where people can go to not only for information, but they can go to for stories, and connection and everything. And that's one reason, like I said, I started Nexus was to be that. But now I'm trying to incorporate this video component into it, and this is one of the first episodes. So, can you guys tell me about a client heartbreak that was very instrumental or let's say very pivotal in your career together?
Well, thank you for asking that question. It's and like you said, we have feelings too, and we take this position very serious. For Will and I, this is our ministry. And we always tell our clients from the very beginning is this is our ministry. And we want to make sure that we're putting our clients in a better situation than they are. And we want to make it as stress-free as possible. I know it's not, it's not going to be 100%, but that's our goal. And so we had one particular client. We have a lot of relocation clients that we work with, Devins, and we had a client that was relocating to Georgia from New Jersey. she was absolutely, it was like her goal to really get here. She had prayed about it, and we really connected with her. And we found homes for her. She could not physically look at the homes. So we would do videos, we would FaceTime with her, and we had looked at a lot of homes with her, or for her, I should say. And we found one home that she absolutely loved. It checked off all the boxes. It was in a gated community. It had a lot of amenities for her children, lakes and bike paths and things like that. And it was her perfect home. She prayed about it. And so we got under contract. We negotiated the contract. And we are very firm about dates because, as you know, deadlines and dates are critical to deals. And so we constantly stay on it, and we are reminding our clients, hey, this date is approaching. We need to make sure we do this. And so what she didn't tell us is she was also going through a health issue. And she didn't totally share that with us. So there would be times where we were not getting in touch with her. And so on top of that, she was having issues at her job.
Yeah.
And so one of the things, if I could step back, is, and Will can talk about this as well, is, we had to have conversations with her as well about the distance that she was looking to drive. And if you want to speak to that, Will.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we do is we try to get all the information that we can from our client, because we want, that helps us assist them. And by especially from her living in a whole nother state, she didn't have a realistic expectation about her commute to work. Now, I'm not here to talk you out of buying a home, but I am here to make sure you have all the information. And, some of the places, like she had us looking in Macon. For one, at that time, the cost of the home was a lot lower in Macon.
Right.
And it was a lot more affordable.
And a lot more affordable to her. So she worked in Conyers. So I said, well, you know how long that commute is. Oh, it's okay. I drive far now. I said, that's okay, but I want to either drive this route for you. Either you can be on the phone with me, we can FaceTime. I want you to see how it looks when you get off at 5 o'clock.
Or when you're going in the morning.
Because you know what happens. That 45-minute drive in Atlanta could be an hour and a half, 2-hour drive.
Right. Right.
So we gave her the information, and she still wanted to buy it. What happened, Sheila?
We went under contract, and like I said, she didn't disclose it to us, but she was having some other outside issues, health issues and some things like that. And she was not communicating with her. And that's why it's so important that clients communicate with their agents, because if as agents, if we are aware of things that's going on, then we can kind of resolve issues or do things so that we're not running into issues. And that's why it's really important for that communication to happen. So anyway, we go under contract, we get, through several of the beginning stages, and then we're waiting on the finance contingency for the approval, and our lender is contacting us, saying, hey, we haven't heard from her. We're reaching out to her saying, do you still want this house? We need to know. We're approaching. We don't want you to lose your earnest money.
Right.
And so it got to a point, Devins, where we ended up having to terminate the contract, and she lost her earnest money. That for us was so,
ever lost that money with us.
Yes. It was so heartbreaking. It was like, it became a personal thing for us. And we felt so bad for her, because then she started disclosing some things to her, and it made me feel even worse. Like I couldn't do anything. We did everything we could do,
right.
But nevertheless, it hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we knew it was not $10, it was not $100, it was several $1,000s that she ended up losing. And we went, we tried to get money back. We even tried to get a portion of it back. But unfortunately, there was a breach in contract. So she lost that money. And what that did for me is and for both of us, every client after that, because we think about that, we go even harder and explaining up front.
Let us know this.
Yes,
because we don't want it to slip through the cracks again. She probably felt like this is personal. I don't want to say it, but she didn't have to tell us everything. She told us enough.
Yeah.
So we try to be upfront with the clients. Let us know this. We even tell them stories. This has happened. Yeah. So we try to damage control. Yeah.
But as agents, like I said, it hurts us because we want, our goal is to get someone in a home, and the biggest goal is not to lose money. And but the nice thing about it, if there's any, silver lining, is she understood. We still connect to this day. We still, during holidays, she reaches out, we reach out to her, and her goal is still to relocate to Georgia when the time is right.
She's deferred. That's all. When the right time is upon us, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and we had a couple other. Let me tell you this one. We had a nice young lady who's buying a very nice house, and we went through all the stuff with it. No hiccups as far as money,
communication.
Yeah. One day, a couple weeks before closing, she just pulls up in this brand new. I could smell leather from the sidewalk. BMW. And I just looked and my mouth dropped and I said, I hope she didn't just buy this. And sure enough, Devins, maybe the next day, I didn't ask her, but the next day, the lender contacted us. Her debt to income ratio is all off now because that $80,000 BMW she bought, it was the top of the line.
Yeah, it was. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. But she was so depressed because her lender did not tell her, don't make any major purchases.
But we do have that converstion with them. But
we do.
She obviously forgot the conversation we had with her in the beginning. So, and she couldn't buy. And that was another one, and, we said, hey, you can't do anything right now. You have this vehicle.
You have to come see us later.
Yeah.
Now, could she have taken that car back?
Maybe
now, yeah. But she didn't offer.
She did not.
she sure enough didn't offer, and she was younger too. So she might have just said, well, and here, not to put a bad light on Atlanta, here a lot of times the young people tend to get those cars and they don't want to part with them.
Yeah.
It's about that image pulling up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. But yeah, and again, once again, it was just like, oh my gosh. Tell us you're renting it. Tell us it's your friend's car.
Right.
Tell us something. Don't tell us you went and bought this car. She was so, when we finally connected with her, she was just so elated about this purchase. And it was like, okay, well, now you can't purchase this house.
Yeah, it was a nice house. She was young, a young professional.
Mm-hmm.
So she was really, making some moves early.
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah, when she pulled up, it was such a nice BMW.
And she probably didn't understand, that debt to income ratio. Because I know a lot of people don't.
No.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand that, hey, don't go and buy something brand new right now while you're trying to buy a house, because that can really hurt you.
Yes, absolutely.
It kind of shaped the way we deal with our customers.
Mm-hmm.
You can't assume that the lender is going to tell them everything.
Right.
You know, a lot of times the lenders just, hey, this is what you can afford. Go for it. You know, but they don't tell them, hey, remember, don't spend this money.
Right.
Especially if the numbers are close.
Yeah.
You know, they don't tell them, well, you can afford 500. Well, they'll say you can afford 500,000. But they don't ask them, what monthly payment are you comfortable with?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So just because you can afford 500,000 doesn't mean you want to spend 500,000.
Right.
You might only want to have a $2,000 house note.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we go over everything with them to make sure that they're, you know, fully informed. And that's one of the things I learned from Sheila. Just, you know, we got to make sure, because we're trying to put them in a better place, and we're responsible for that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so before we close out, what is something that you guys could say now to anybody that's wanting to buy a house or thinking about buying a house? What is something that you guys would advise them on?
The biggest thing is to start saving money. Save as much as you can to put aside, and not just for the down payment and closing costs. We think that it's very important that you have a cushion once you're in the house to fall back on, so that, let's say, you know, you have a roof leak. You're not scrambling to say, okay, well, how do I pay my mortgage this month? Do I not pay a bill because I have this expense? No, you'll have a cushion, you know, emergency fund cushion that you can go into to make those repairs. So saving is very important. The other thing is to really begin as early as possible to look at your credit. We always tell people, don't do it on your own, because you can actually negatively impact your credit score by paying down debt or paying off debt. So it's important to speak with a lender early on. And the lender can direct your path to say, okay, do this and do that, so that you can purchase. Even if it's a year from now, you'll have a plan, and a great plan to move into the right direction. So those are some of the things big things that we tell people. And then also to begin exploring exactly what you're looking for. We always give them a form of what they want, what their likes, what their dislikes are, and what their must-haves and what their deal breakers are, and start exploring those things very early in the stage. We set them up in the system so that they can begin looking at homes. And that gives them an idea, a real reality check of what's out there and what's available in the price range that they're looking in. So those are some of the big things that we tell people up front.
Exactly. Because there's a misnomer that if you have credit that needs some work, oh, I owe $5,000 here, let me just go pay it off. Well, you might have just paid off a hospital bill that the lender wasn't even going to use, and you might have been better served to spend that $5,000 paying down something else off. On the other hand, someone might pay something off and close the account where you just closed off credit. So you might have been better off to pay it down to 30% and still had that credit. So there is a unique way that they use to build your credit. And they have a computer system they can put it in. They'll tell you, if you pay this, your credit will jump to here in so many days.
Yeah,
so,
it's a credit simulation that they can provide. And the other
Mm-hmm.
thing is to connect with a real estate professional.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
do not want to do this on your own.
Right.
And the earlier you connect with the right people, the more successful and the better your experience is going to be through the process. Definitely.
And one last thing.
Mhm.
And I tell a lot of people this because we don't want you to be house poor.
Right.
Just because you're approved for $400,000 doesn't mean you have to spend $400,000, because you still want to be able to live. You want to be able to go on vacations. You want to be able to make trips and eat. Some people are in a situation where they went for the maximum Now they can't miss work.
Yeah.
They counted that overtime. Now you can't miss work. You don't want to be in that situation. You want to realistically sit down with a professional and go over everything so that you can be comfortable and not strapped.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
Well, that was great, guys. Thank you guys
Thank
for coming.
you. Thank you for having us.
Your tips and your information. That was really great. And I hope everyone listens and takes heed, gets a realtor or just a real estate professional, you know, someone to sit down with and be upfront with, be very transparent, you know, talk about your situations. Like you said, well, you don't have to say everything, you don't have to tell everything, but enough because, you know, you can avoid a situation where you lose your earnest money.
Yes.
And, you know, you can avoid a situation where you go and buy an $80,000 BMW.
Yes.
And
you
can't buy a house. Yeah, you got to live in it now.
Yeah.
So, you know, thank you guys so much for
thank you
coming in here and for doing this with me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know. And so with that, we're gonna say bye, you guys. Wave to the camera.
Bye.
And don't forget to tune into the Silver